used to have a Jaker, JKUR, right? Rubicon JK Jeep, okay? You can find videos of it on the channel if you haven't seen them before. In any event, I had 37s, 488 gears, RCV axles, RPM 1-ton steering, Terraflex long arms, you name it, right? That thing could shit and get. It goes without saying, right? Bumpers, sliders, the whole nine. All that jazz. My old FJ Cruiser, bumper, slider, skids, 35s, rear locker, blah, 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 all the things. My current fun haver, 1-ton swapped 2nd-gen Ram, gears, rear locker, 38s, okay? Radius arm conversion, coilovers, the whole nine. My old Excursion, 37s. You see where I'm going with this. I've had some trucks that can get after it. It goes without saying, right? But what I really love about the Suburban, aside from the sentimental value of my dad giving it to me, is that this thing with a G80 rear factory LSD that everyone says is a pile of dog shit and never works, or it's going to blow up at 100,000 miles. I've got over 250,000 miles on this thing. It's still kicking. This is an LT, I did a Z71 rear spring swap, which is like 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, lift. Some cheap Pro Comp keys up front, Billy 5100s, and then Pizza Cutter 33s, 255 8017s. Oh, and a winch mount. That's it. This thing has gone to hell and back, and I drived up stuff that it has no... Well, theoretically, it has no business doing, but it just crushes it, man. It crushes it every single time. I've driven this truck up Mineral Creek in Colorado, over sheets of ice and snow drifts in Central Oregon and Deschutes National Forest. It's been all over the place in Moab. It's been all over the place in northern Arizona. You name it. I love this truck. There's just something really, really satisfying about being in the soccer mom mobile and ripping up mud, ripping up rocks. It's such a good time. It really is a shame that so many people only see Arizona as some sort of desert wasteland, some 120-degree hellscape, because when you get up north, where the Colorado Plateau ends, which it very much does here in Arizona, you get the pine needles, you get the ponderosa, and the beauty of the sandstone, and the mountainscapes, and the trees, in a way that so few other places do. So the last video talked about wanting to get back to a more ambitious itinerary, let's say, or at least one that fits my passion a little bit better. Now we started off strong. January, 3 nights right out of the gate. I was feeling really good about that. Wanted to knock down 5. That didn't happen. February stuff happened. So that slowed down again too. That was only 2 nights. This weekend is 2. So we're sitting at 7 in March. Now, my par has typically been 4 nights a month, right? 2 weekenders. That's not crazy. So I'm 5 nights behind par, which may make you think, well, how the hell are you gonna get caught up to your itinerary then if you're already behind the 8 ball like that? But I scheme and I plot and my machinations come together, and I've got a plan that's pretty much set. Knock on wood. If I do this next video and I say, hey, shit didn't work out, then you can throw the proverbial tomato at me through your computer screen or your phone or whatever you're watching this on. But nonetheless, it's looking really good. to the point that by July 4th weekend, we should be almost at 60 nights. How, you may ask? Well, I've got a job, again, finally, after getting laid off last year. And it's one of these things that seems like a burden because the job is about 110 miles away from home. However, it occurs to me that what I can do is roll up on Sunday night and camp through Wednesday night, because it's 410s and, Monday through Thursday. Camp on Sunday night through Wednesday night, and that's an easy 4 nights every single week. And here's the kicker. Overtime is doled out like candy. And the overtime comes in the form of an extra 8 hours on a Friday. So you get a shorter day on Friday. But nonetheless, it's an extra night. So, April is fast approaching, and I won't be taking any of that time in April because actually I have a lot of other stuff loaded up. And there's a very, very, very fun boys trip coming up again here in a couple weeks. So, be on the lookout for that. We will be doing the damn thing once again with the dogs. And I won't tell you where we're going. If you followed this channel for any amount of time, you probably put it together because there's a few usual suspects. But nonetheless, April is out. However, you're talking about an extra 2 nights in May. You're talking about an extra 2 nights in June. So throw another 4 on the docket there. And then looking at the calendar, I do believe it lines up for July 4th weekend. So we'll say 5. And then factor in Memorial Day and July 4th. Paid holidays. You're already getting the time off. You're getting extra days to go camping. So we are really, really, really looking good. Where just over the halfway mark of the year, we should be sitting almost at 60. We are really, really primed and ready to absolutely crush it this year. Again, like I said last time, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. I don't know that this year is going to be the 100 nights year, but I do know we're looking really sharp to do some really cool stuff this year. And the only other thing we've got to figure out is how to work in the time to go and hit our states. Because, I love to hit as many states as possible, too. Personal best so far, state-wise, has been 9. Right there with the 100 nights in a year. I also have the 11 states goal, which is basically every state west of the Dakotas. Both of those things are not going to happen together this year. I don't think 11 states is going to happen this year. But we do have a big trip coming up in September that's already on the docket as well. That's going to scratch a couple of those off the list. Who knows? At the end of the day, the metrics and the optics of this are not what's really important, because I've spent entire years where I didn't leave Colorado. I've spent entire years where I barely left Oregon. Last year, I barely left Arizona, right? So it's not a matter of having to go to a certain place. It's not a matter of having to get so many nights to enjoy myself. I just love to get out. I love the outdoors. I love doing this. But the more the merrier. And I think we're going to get a lot of nights. We're going to get a good amount of states. We're going to do some really cool shit, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So, once again, I'm very happy. This is going to be a good year. So, I'll do the thing that people always do. I know this is buried in the middle of the video, but hey, if you're watching to this point, if you're actually seeing this and you actually care, do me a favor. Throw a like on there. Subscribe, because why not? Do cool stuff. I got a good group of friends that love to join. We do really rad stuff. This channel and No Known Boundaries as a whole was started as a group effort to get the boys out doing cool stuff. And life changes. People move for work, or they have kids, or they do whatever. So it's harder and harder the older you get to get the rest of the gang back out. But nonetheless, they're in here too. And this is not just contrary to what you may be seeing right here. There's a good group of dudes. We do cool stuff. So please, if you like this, subscribe, all the junk, whatever. But either way, follow along. We're going to do cool stuff. and we are primed to really get the ball rolling. So, with that out of the way, back to it. So my plan for the weekend was go down to one of my favorite lakes. And when I say one of my favorites, I mean like top 3 anywhere. I love this place. It's very near and dear to my heart. They were closed all the way back to last fall. They had an invasive fish species infestation. How that happens, I'll leave up to your imagination. I've heard rumors, and they may just be, old man tales, whatever, but sometimes people whose heart is in the right place, but they just don't know any better, they bring fish over to new lakes or new tributaries or whatever the case may be, thinking that they're going to release him and offer him, a second shot at life. I don't know. That could be complete bullshit. Either way, this very isolated lake, I have a hard time believing that like a raptor picked up one of these fish from another lake, flew it all the way over here, and dropped it in the water, and then did it again so that they could start spawning. I mean, whatever. Either way. In any event, the lake was closed down. There was nothing in there. But then I got word that they were actually stocking it on Monday. So I said, ooh, this is great news. I'll pop down there before the crowds start coming up from the valley. Kind of get after it, right? Now, on Friday, doing my due diligence, I was like, you know what? Let me call the Ranger District's office. Just verify the lake is open back up, right? They said, yeah, it's open, but I can't guarantee there's fish in there. And I said, well, hey, Game and Fish had it on their stocking schedule for Monday. Can you verify that? They said, we can't. I heard rumor that it was too muddy and the conditions were so bad they didn't want to drive the big, heavy stock trucks down there. So I'll connect you to GFD. So I talked to GFD. And of course, the fish team wasn't in the office. And they said, well, we don't know for sure. So, long story short, decided to put a pin in it until a couple weeks from now. Even though I'm sure with the stockers in there, it would have been prime, assuming that they got stocked, but I didn't want to go all the way down there and get skunked. What I decided to do was go over to another reservoir that I'd had luck at before, and limits usually are not a problem at. Cruised over and got skunked. So, what can I say? Worst day of fishing beats the hell out of working, right?
The soldiers crept closer. Carson sent one of his officers ahead with a cavalry force to attack a small village a little after dawn.
Now, instead of trying to figure out how to get eggs from home to camp without them cracking and getting all over the cooler or the fridge or the whatever, crack them ahead of time in a protein shaker, throw a little bit of milk in there, boom, you just pour it out in your pan, fluffy scrambled eggs. So we are over an hour ahead of time, breaking camp and getting out of here. I got to go down to Anthem to see a man about a horse. But because I was a good boy and did all of the right things to get up and get going this morning, that means we have a little bit more time to poke around, cruise on some trails, maybe mark some more camp spots, look at a couple more vistas, all the good stuff, all the kind of bittersweet, little melancholy stuff you do on a Sunday when you don't want to leave, but you know you have to. We're going to go and do some of that. I topped off the coffee. We are good to go.